started with something so ordinary that nobody in the room initially paid attention to it. A phone placed face up on a table, a notification lighting up the screen, and a photograph that apparently wasn't supposed to attract anyone's attention, but according to a story that has begun circulating among fans, one of Can Yaman's closest friends happened to look at the screen at exactly the right, or perhaps the wrong, moment. What he allegedly saw immediately caught him by surprise. Demet Özdemir not an Instagram post. Not a promotional photograph from Turkish. Not one of the famous images of Can and Demet that have circulated online for years. According to the alleged account, it appeared to be a much more personal photograph, and suddenly, an ordinary evening became the beginning of a mystery. The story reportedly took place during a private gathering with a small group of people close to Can. There were no reporters, no cameras, and no expectation that anything from that evening would become public. Can was apparently relaxed, talking with friends, while his phone remained on the table beside him. Then the screen lit up. His friend's eyes moved toward it almost automatically. For only a few seconds, he could see the image, but that was apparently enough. He recognized Demet immediately. What surprised him wasn't necessarily that Can possessed a photograph of his former co-star. That alone would mean very little. Can and Demet spent an enormous amount of time working together during Turkish, and photographs from that period would naturally exist. This image, however, allegedly looked different. Demet wasn't standing at a premiere. She wasn't posing for photographers. There was no glamorous background or carefully prepared television scene. Instead, she reportedly appeared completely natural, as though the photograph had captured an ordinary moment between filming. And there was another important detail. According to the friend, he had never seen this particular photograph publicly. Can apparently noticed his friend looking toward the phone. He reached over, picked it up, and turned the screen off. Nothing dramatic happened, but his expression allegedly changed. His friend immediately understood that he had noticed something Can considered personal. At first, he decided not to mention it. The conversation continued. People laughed, changed subjects, and talked about completely unrelated things. But the friend couldn't forget what he had seen. Why would Can still have that particular photograph after so many years? Was it simply buried somewhere in an enormous photo library? Was it an old memory that had randomly appeared? Or did the photograph still mean something to him? Eventually, curiosity won. When the two reportedly had a quieter moment away from the others, his friend asked him directly, "Was that Demet?" According to the story, Can looked at him for several seconds. Then he smiled slightly. Yes. That answer only created another question. His friend asked where the photograph had come from. This time, Can reportedly unlocked his phone again. He found the image, and instead of hiding it, he showed it properly. That was when his friend supposedly noticed details he had missed the first time. The photograph appeared to come from the Turkish period. Demet looked tired but happy, apparently sitting away from the main filming area during a break. It wasn't perfect, and perhaps that was exactly why it felt meaningful. Then the friend asked the question that would change the entire conversation. Who took this? Can looked down at the photograph, and according to the alleged account, his answer was only 3 words: "I took it." But what Can reportedly revealed next about the day that photograph was taken was far more surprising, because apparently, the image wasn't memorable because of what happened in the photograph. It was memorable because of what happened immediately. Afterward, Can's friend reportedly expected a simple explanation. Maybe the photograph had been taken during a random break on the set of Turkish. Maybe Can had been testing the camera on his phone. Maybe Demet had noticed him taking the picture and posed for a second. But according to the story, none of those explanations were correct. Can allegedly looked at the photograph for a few seconds before saying something unexpected. That was a difficult day. His friend immediately became curious. What had happened? According to the alleged account, the photograph came from one of the most exhausting periods of Turkish. Filming schedules were intense. Everyone was tired, and Can and Demet were under enormous pressure. By that point, the series had become much bigger than anyone initially expected. Millions of viewers were following Can Divit and Sanem Aydin. Clips of their scenes were spreading internationally. Fan pages were appearing everywhere. And suddenly every interaction between Can and Demet was being analyzed. But behind all that attention were two actors trying to get through extremely demanding filming days. And on the day the photograph was supposedly taken, Demet had apparently been unusually quiet, Can noticed. According to the story, there was a break between scenes and most of the crew had temporarily moved away. Demet remained behind, sitting alone and looking exhausted. Can walked toward her. He apparently tried to make her laugh. At first, nothing worked. Then Can supposedly started joking about something that had gone wrong during filming earlier that day. Demet finally smiled, and at exactly that moment, Can took the photograph. No preparation, no pose, just a spontaneous picture. That detail, reportedly, explained why the image looked so different from the photographs fans normally saw. But his friend still didn't understand why Can remembered the moment so clearly. Years had passed. Can must have had thousands, perhaps tens of thousands, of photographs from different productions, countries and periods of his life. Why remember this one? According to the alleged account, Can then explained what happened. After he took it, Demet immediately realized she had been photographed. She looked at Can and apparently demanded to see the picture. Can showed her Demet, laughed and told him she looked exhausted. Then she supposedly reached toward the phone and jokingly told him, "Delete it." Can pretended to do exactly that, but apparently he didn't. His friend reportedly laughed when Can revealed this detail. "You kept it all this time?" Can didn't answer immediately. Instead, he looked back at the image, and that silence reportedly changed the mood of the conversation, because suddenly the story wasn't funny anymore. His friend asked the obvious question, why? According to the account, Can's explanation was surprisingly simple. He allegedly said that people often believe they will remember the biggest moments of their lives, the premieres, the awards, the celebrations, the places filled with cameras, but years later, those aren't always the memories that return. Sometimes it's an ordinary afternoon, conversation nobody else heard, someone laughing when they were exhausted, 5 minutes between two scenes. The moments that seemed completely unimportant while they were happening can eventually become the ones people remember most clearly. For Can, according to this story, the photograph represented exactly that. His friend reportedly understood the explanation, but something still bothered him. If the photograph was simply an old memory, why had it appeared so easily on Can's phone? Was it really buried among thousands of old images? Or had Can looked at it recently? So the friend asked. And this time, Can's reaction was apparently very different. He didn't laugh. He didn't immediately answer. Instead, he locked the phone and placed it back on the table. That reaction supposedly gave his friend the answer before Can even spoke. According to the alleged account, Can had indeed looked at the photograph again recently, but why? The friend naturally wanted to know whether something had happened, whether Can had spoken to Demet, received a message, or simply remembered those years for another reason. Can refused to explain immediately. However, later that evening, his friend reportedly noticed something else. When Can unlocked his phone again, the friend briefly saw the date attached to the photograph. And suddenly, the timing of everything seemed far less random, because the date apparently connected the picture to a specific moment in Can and Demet's history, a moment that fans had discussed for years, without ever knowing what might have happened away from the cameras. And when his friend finally asked Can about that date, Can reportedly gave him an answer he never expected. The date was what changed everything. Until that moment, Can's friend could easily have treated the photograph as nothing more than an old memory from Erkanci Kush. Actors spend months together on sets. Friendships form, thousands of photographs are taken. And years later, some of those images remain buried inside old phones and cloud accounts. There would be nothing unusual about that. But according to the story, The date attached to Demet's photograph immediately reminded his friend of something. It had been taken during a particularly intense period of filming, when Can and Demet were spending almost every day together. His friend looked at Can and asked, "Do you remember exactly when this was?" Can reportedly answered without hesitation, "Yes." That immediate response surprised him. There was no need to check a calendar or search through old messages. Can apparently remembered the day clearly, and according to the alleged account, there was a reason. The photograph had been taken during a period when everything around them was changing incredibly quickly. Kush was becoming a phenomenon. Can and Demet were no longer simply two actors working on another Turkish television series. Their faces were appearing across social media around the world. Fans were creating edits, translating interviews, and discussing their chemistry in dozens of languages. Every smile became a headline, every look became a theory, every behind-the-scenes interaction was analyzed. Yet according to Can's friend, the photograph represented almost the exact opposite of that public world. It was private, quiet, ordinary, and perhaps that was why Can had kept it. His friend reportedly asked whether Demet even knew the photograph still existed. Can smiled. "She probably thinks I deleted it." That answer immediately brought them back to the moment when Demet had supposedly told him to erase the picture. His friend laughed and asked whether Can had ever shown it to her. Again, no, never? Never. Then came the obvious question. Would he show it to her today? According to the story, Can became noticeably quieter. For several seconds, he simply looked at the phone. His friend apparently expected another joke, but none came. Instead, Can reportedly said, "Some memories belong to the moment when they happened." It was a strangely careful answer. Not romantic enough to be called a confession. Not distant enough to make the subject disappear. His friend continued, teasing him. If it was only a memory, why had Can opened the photograph recently? That question apparently caught him off guard, and this time, Can eventually admitted something. According to the unconfirmed account, he hadn't discovered the photograph accidentally. He had searched for it. A few days earlier, something had reminded him of that period. The friend immediately asked what. Can reportedly refused to say, but his friend began guessing. Had he watched an old episode? Had someone sent him an Kush clip? Had he seen Demet somewhere? Can apparently laughed at the questions but wouldn't confirm any of them. Then his friend mentioned Demet's name directly, and Can's expression supposedly changed again. That reaction became one of the details the friend remembered most. Clearly, according to his account, there was no anger and no discomfort. Instead, Can seemed almost nostalgic. The friend then asked whether Can missed those days. Can allegedly responded that he missed many things about that period. The atmosphere, the people, the energy of the set, and the feeling that none of them fully understood how important the series would eventually become. But his friend wasn't satisfied. He wanted to know whether Can missed Demet. This time, there was a long silence, and according to the story, Can never gave him a direct answer. Instead, he opened the photograph once more. He looked at it briefly and said something along the lines of, "When you genuinely shared a part of your life with someone, you don't have to erase everything just because time has passed." For his friend, that was enough. Not because it proved some secret relationship or hidden romance. It didn't. But because it revealed that whatever those years meant to Can, he hadn't treated them as something that needed to disappear. And there was one more surprise. Before putting the phone away, Can's friend reportedly noticed another image beside Demet's photograph. At first he thought it was simply another picture from the set. Then he looked more carefully. It appeared to have been taken only moments after the first one. This time, Can was also in the frame, and according to the friend, Demet's expression in that second photograph told an entirely different story. That was the image that supposedly made him stop joking altogether, because suddenly he understood why Can had kept both photographs together for all these years. And when he finally asked what had happened immediately after they were taken, Can reportedly revealed the final part of the story. The second photograph reportedly changed the entire tone of the conversation. Until then, Can's friend had been teasing him. An old photograph of Demet Özdemir on Can Yaman's phone was interesting, perhaps even nostalgic, but it didn't necessarily mean anything beyond a memory from Erkanci Kush. The second image, however, apparently provided context. According to the alleged account, Can and Demet were both visible in it. They weren't posing professionally. There were no costumes arranged perfectly for a scene, no promotional background, and no obvious indication that the photograph had been intended for the public. Instead, it looked spontaneous. Can was beside Demet, while she appeared to be laughing at something happening outside the frame. His friend reportedly stared at the image for several seconds. Then he understood. This photograph had apparently been taken shortly after the first one. The picture Demet had jokingly asked Can to delete. According to the story, another person on set had taken the second photograph while Can was showing Demet the original image. That explained her expression. She wasn't posing. She was laughing because Can had just photographed her without warning. 2 photographs. The same moment. 2 completely different perspectives. And Can had apparently kept both. His friend immediately asked why. Can's alleged answer was surprisingly straightforward. Because together, the 2 photographs reminded him of the entire moment. The first showed what Can had seen. The second showed what happened afterward. For Can's friend, this explanation made the story far more understandable, but he still had one question left. Does Demet know you kept these? Can reportedly shook his head. Probably not. His friend then jokingly suggested that Demet might be surprised if she ever discovered them. Can smiled but didn't respond. Then came the question that supposedly produced the most memorable moment of the entire conversation. If you saw her tomorrow, would you show her? According to the story, Can stopped smiling. He looked down at his phone. For several seconds, he said absolutely nothing. Then he reportedly answered, "Maybe I wouldn't have to." His friend didn't understand. Can allegedly explained that Demet would probably remember the moment without needing to see the photograph. And suddenly, his friend realized something important. Perhaps the real significance wasn't the picture, it was the shared memory behind it. That is also where this story requires an important distinction. There is no public confirmation from Can Yaman or Demet Özdemir that this private conversation happened as described. Neither actor has publicly verified that these specific photographs exist. So interpreting this story as proof of a secret romance would go far beyond what can responsibly be claimed, but perhaps that uncertainty is exactly why the story has captured so much attention, because Can and Demet remain one of those television partnerships audiences have never completely forgotten. When Erkanci Kush first brought Can Divet and Sanem Aydin together, viewers immediately noticed something special in their performances. Their arguments felt energetic. Their romantic scenes felt effortless. Their comedic moments seemed natural. And years after the series ended, new audiences continued discovering their story. Both actors eventually followed their own paths. New productions arrived. New co-stars entered their lives. Can expanded his career internationally, while Demet continued building her own successful career. Time moved forward. But some memories apparently survive those changes. And if this story contains even a small piece of truth, perhaps that is all the photograph represents. Not a secret. Relationship not evidence that Can and Demet are secretly together. Simply proof that certain chapters of our lives remain important even after we have moved far beyond them. According to the friend's alleged account, the conversation eventually ended without any dramatic confession, and Dayan locked his phone. They returned to the others. The evening continued normally, but his friend reportedly never forgot what he had seen. Not because Demet's photograph was shocking, but because of the way Can had looked at it. There was supposedly no sadness in his expression, no regret, just recognition. If the photograph belonged to a version of his life that no longer existed, but that he could still remember clearly. Before the subject disappeared completely, his friend reportedly made one final joke. "You know fans would go crazy if they saw this." Can laughed, and his alleged response perfectly summarized the entire situation. That's exactly why they won't. Maybe the photograph will never become public. Maybe Demet will never see it again, and perhaps the two people involved would consider it nothing more than a funny memory from an unforgettable television set.